What surprised you about sex the first time you had it? Getting a blowjob felt weird to me the first time. I remember just staring at the ceiling throughout the deed thinking so this is a blowjob. She didn't know I was losing my virginity. Getting asked in the middle of humping to choke her out was something I was completely unprepared for. That I didn't come immediately. The horror stories of what friends had told me that I'd come immediately had me petrified. Luckily, the girl I was with was patient and I'm pretty sure I lasted a whole 3-4 minutes. How hard a penis gets. Like I'm not sure why, but before I touched her penis I guess I just thought it'd have a banana consistency or something. Young me was stupid. This may sound stupid, but the intimacy of it was a part I didn't even consider until it was happening. The entire act of taking off our clothes and holding each other blew me away. The clapping sound. That waterbeds are not for novices. It kind of just happened and we didn't use a condom and didn't worry about it until the second after I came and then totally freaked out. Oh, and how completely exhausted you are after. If someone came at me trying to murder me right after X, I would probably just lay there and be like whatever. The vagina likes to make sounds similar to flatulence while it's wet. And there ain't nothing you can do about that. How tiring and sweaty it can be. The first time I was not prepared to end up feeling like I'd just run a 40-kilometer marathon through Mordor. How weird, but pleasant, it is to see someone else naked. No one ever talks about after X cleanup. Bodily fluids are everywhere, yet women on TV usually just get up and walk normally to the bathroom. How warm it is inside the female genitals. Fluids. Not just male fluids. That it doesn't need to be a multi-hour process for both people to be satisfied. I've many satisfying, for both people, events that weren't more than 10 minutes long from start to finish. How embarrassed I would feel about it. I always feel so self-conscious about my body, about what I'm doing and how I look. Even though I've never had any complaints. It makes it less enjoyable. Chest farts. How little room there is in the back of a PT Cruiser. After the pain, I'd say how it made him feel afterwards, that sweaty, bleary-eyed look of wonder, pulling me close to his chest. The hole is much lower. Edit. My highest rated comment is now about my exile ineptitude. I was surprised at how wrong I was thinking that I was ready for it. Girls have hairy buttholes too. How could it was? Also, that I didn't orgasm. I just assumed that was guaranteed. I was so wrong. The hole placement. Imagine where you think it is, and go down 1.5 inches. Oral. Holy crap, she's actually doing this. The deed. Holy crap, I'm actually doing this to her. Apostrophe. Some girls' stepdads don't like to find you on top of them. What surprised me the most was the pure emotional connection and how intense the intimacy was. I never knew it was possible for one to have so much love in their eyes, but when my boyfriend and I locked eyes during the act, it was really life-changing in an emotional sense. That I pushed her hand away when she tried to grab my junk. There was some serious Mormon conditioning going on there. We got over it though. My initial reaction was, this is it? For all the hype surrounding it, I expected a lot more from it. Edit. This was when I was 16 and I'm about to turn 29. Things have improved. No worries. 35-year-old female who just lost my V card on the 8th. One thing I wasn't prepared for was to start crying. I wasn't crying cause it hurt, it did, but I expected that. I was crying because it's been, like, 20 years and I was kinda thinking that it wasn't gonna happen. Then, It did, and it was just a really emotional moment. He was so incredibly sweet and caring though, and I couldn't have been happier with my choice of partner. The lack of pain. I'm female, and what I'd really been told varied from mild discomfort to OMG I thought I would split in two, so I wasn't sure what to expect, aside from some pain. I experienced none. It felt amazing. Also, how soft feeling an erect penis feels. Edit. I was 19 when I had X for the first time. I discovered masturbation at a rather young age. I learned there was a word for what I was doing somewhere around the 4th grade, so it's possible I popped myself at some point and didn't realize it. Also possible I was simply born without a hymen. No way to tell, really. That years of jerking off to fricked up prawn has given me pretty bad erectile dysfunction. Now when I actually want to have X, I can't. FML. The non-romanticness about it. It was just, ugh spludge. Not very intimate and a little disconnected. I felt very filthy and used afterwards, and I remember staring at the wet spot all grossed out. After the first time was out of the way, I learned to enjoy myself though. How awesome pussy was. I was surprised on how much it hurt. Yeah, my friends warned me, but I'm like bullsh. It'll be like the movies and it'll be beautiful and yada yada yada. The second he tried to put it in, I yelped and told him to frick off, but once that was out of the way and I became better at handling the D, it shocked me in how much of a daze you're enduring X. You could tell me that you wanted to rob and kill me and I'd just be like, yeah okay yeah weird. It honestly wasn't as great as I imagined. I've since discovered that it's something I have to really be in the mood for, not just a spur of the moment thing. Not sure why, but even masturbating just feels like a chore a lot of the time. That having it only wanted me to have it more. How many rounds the guy could go for 3 nights. And I was surprised how casual, it seemed. Movies depict it so differently, obviously, but there's more talking than I thought, about what position to do next, if they like it, what we should do, etc. Some women get wet. Very wet. I mean, splash all over my lap and leave a gigantic stain on my couch wet. I loved it. 2 children. That there is more to X than just pounding away. How messy it could be. All the sweat and body fluids spilling around. I was under the impression doggy style was only done in the ass. I didn't know the D could make its way to the puss. That it was so low down in that I wasn't hard at all. It could be so meaningless. That feeling of elation when I finally had X with a girl. When I got to college, I'm female, I decided frick it, I'm just gonna lose it already, so I had X with this guy and it was terrible. I thought okay, just gonna work through whatever. I started talking to this other guy and we had X and it was better, but I knew that I wasn't liking it for whatever reason. Had X with another guy a while later and same story. Finally I started talking to this girl, now girlfriend, and we had X and it was like coming home after being away for months. It was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. I actually started crying when it was over because of how amazing it was and all of the realization hitting me after being confused about myself for my whole life. So yeah, I'm gay. How much sweat dripped on me, but he did all the work. I was mortified. We were 14. Some girls don't take credit cards. Just cash. That after X cuddle naps are better than X itself. I came. I didn't expect to have an orgasm the first time. I had been warned it would be uncomfortable. It was actually really great, though. I immediately wanted to do it again, which is how I learned about the refractory period. I thought the bed frame slamming the wall was hilarious considering I grew up in the 90s and any prawn I'd seen up until then was the PG-14 softcore Sean Maxim and Skinamax. I was not prepared for it to go from the slow this feels weird to if she dies in just a few short weeks. How boring it could be. How effortless it is. Honestly, growing up, I thought I had to push it to go in. Honestly, once the heat is up and the gates of the Hoover Dam open, it's so warm and inviting. It hurt, and I thought it was always going to hurt. I'm female. People enjoy this? This is so painful. Apostrophe. Not my first time story, but my first partner has an orgasm story. The second girl I had sex with had a pretty intense orgasm, and since I wasn't that experienced and this was before the internet educated everyone on everything, I thought she was having a seizure or something. I had no idea what was going on. I pulled out with an intense look of concern, held her in my arms, and said, "Are you okay?" And she responded with, "WTF, don't stop you dumb frick." She was the sweetest girl in the world, so to see her turn into the devil and scream at me was pretty jarring. That boobs feel like bags of sand. I was surprised at just how good it felt. I was already expecting something great, but I was still blown away. I've been hooked ever since. I'll let you know if it ever happens. I had no idea condom sizing was a thing. I was raised with demonstrations of a full arm fitting inside a condom. To display the if he says it won't fit, it's an excuse factor. So when I tried to have sex with my boyfriend for the first time, I knew he was generously endowed, but I was the one that picked up the condoms. I just got condoms. Any condoms. Having sex together was a very big deal, due to some past trauma on my side, so we waited about half a year before I felt comfortable. He's a total sweetheart and never pressured me. Big night comes. I pull out a condom. We're going hot and heavy, and he just goes limp. He's apologizing, saying this never happens, it hadn't before. I'm a little embarrassed, but whatever. Things pick back up. We try again. I'm totally ready to give myself to this wonderful guy I'm crazy about, who's had so much patience. He goes limp again when putting on the next condom. Cue a very awkward sitting on the edge of the bed stereotype, with me internally screaming, oh shit, he doesn't find Emmy attractive enough for sex shit. Finally he clears his throat and asks what brand of condoms I bought. I indignantly show him the box and he proceeds to politely explain how I accidentally strangled his cock and that he is in fact a Magnum XXL. Lots of laughing after that. We dashed to a CVS that night and grabbed a new pack. Bada bing, bada boom, magic. Never an excuse to not wear a condom, but sizing folks, it's a real thing. Blood? It wasn't much, but we were both virgins and she bled a tiny bit after. It just made me even more exully frustrated than I was before I had sex. I had sex because I was horny. Afterwards I was still horny because I didn't get off, but was too sore to get off. How much energy I have after sex. My poor girlfriend becomes exhausted before I can ejaculate. I successfully frolic around the house bringing her comforts while she catches her breath. Oh god, how much it hurts. It felt like razor blades were cutting my vagina. Had to try multiple times in the span of 3-4 months before we officially had sex. But the closeness, the emotions, they made it all worth it. Why do I like this smell? That the vagina goes back, not straight up. That seriously confused me. Is that weird? I own one myself, so I've no idea why I never realized. How insanely fun it was with the right person and how you can have it without any emotional commitments. In fact, you are more likely to sleep with friends and strangers and become friends than anything else. It was interesting to see how in tune you are with the other person too. Like you're hyper aware of the slightest change in body language or expression. I was surprised to find myself experiencing tachipsychia. It took me a long time to find that term. Apparently it's a psychological phenomenon that happens in combat where your perception of time is fricked up and you kinda start going on instinct. I've felt it when hunting or when almost getting into a car accident. I spent most of my formative years being told that premarital sex is the worst thing anyone could do and that it's hollow and empty. Those people are idiots. They were also wrong about weed and hunting. Also, it's a hell of a workout. You'll be sore and tired in ways you didn't know you could be. Oral sex is hard to do without having a sore neck. How hard it was to get in. Didn't realize how big my BFD was, lol. Myself and now wife of 20 years. Didn't know there was an ending or at least what it was typically and literally fricked till muscle failure on all accounts. I had run dry, but could still get an erection. Our youth. The sun was coming up and we could literally not move. We were both raised in very conservative families and I think the privilege of experiencing that level of mutual intimacy in what was already a very ideologically passionate courtship made us want to know absolutely everything about one another. I can still see her in that room in my mind. How bad I was at it. You would think that some sort of evolutionary biological instinct would kick in and the end result would be being functionally adequate at something necessary to the survival of the species. But no. This is not the case. Turns out this is like some sort of skill that you have to practice in order to master. There is you have to learn, but nobody want to teach you about it. There was no internet back then and no piranhas squirreled away in the house. I searched, and my father's stash of old Playboys was of no use because they were all from the 70s and the bush was as thick as a Vietnamese jungle. So I had to go in blind, knowing nothing, and it was a pretty dismal experience for the both of us. The thought that I was inside someone. It did not feel the way I expected. It's an acquired taste, I'd say. Eventually I got used to the feeling of pussy, but my expectations were definitely set really high the first time. I was surprised I didn't come immediately. Cause that's what many people talk about. They jizz immediately upon entering a chick or after not long. Yeah, no, despite even being uncircumcised, I lasted as long as I needed to want it to the first time. How wet your D is when you pull out. In prawn, the dude is bone dry and can fap all over the chick. For me at least, D is too wet to fap or even get a good grip on. For me, it was a big deal to lose my virginity and I think it was for everyone else too. It is a weird ritual that everyone puts so much importance on when we're young. But after I was finished, it felt good, but the world moved on as if nothing happened. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. Nobody was keeping track but me. It was when I was in the second half of high school, so there was nobody even to brag to or to prove something to. It wasn't important at all. I was surprised that coming in a girl's vag, this is what I did the first time, didn't quite feel as good as death grip masturbating. However, the more you do it, the more you look forward to that specific vag feeling so it gets better. It just subverted my expectations the first time. Not all girls, in fact, in my experience, I'd say most girls, don't like cum. I came in the girl's mouth the second time, and she immediately ran to the bathroom to spit it out. Wouldn't swallow, but since it was a thing girls did, you assume, when you're young, that they must all like it. To be honest, I can see why they don't. Cum looks like it must be pretty nasty to have in your mouth and I can't imagine it tastes very good. Final thing, I discovered I like to eat and a lot of girls love to have their asses eaten. This did happen the first time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment.